Okay, you guys, welcome, welcome. Welcome to the call on how to do virtual events as fundraisers and how to change the world while you work. That is where you are. You are on a training about how to combine a virtual event, any kind of a virtual video event, a webinar, a multi-day video series, or like a 2 or 3 day event like you saw us do, how to combine that with a fundraiser as a way to build brand awareness and as a way to change the world while you work. I am so excited for this topic. Vivian and I have been planning out this training for a few days, and I'm going to invite you to take a deep breath and lean toward the screen and turn on your video camera and let your eyes connect with some of the other eyes here of the incredible women who are alongside you on the path of humanitarian entrepreneurialism, right? Like that is what we're up to here. Entrepreneurialism that changes the world. Give a little nod if you are so proud of every other sister and incredible man in our midst who is showing up to not just try to freaking pay the bills, but actually make a difference, because it really takes some courage and some strength, some inner strength and some inner conviction to be on the path that you're on. So go ahead and unmute yourselves, look into the eyes of the other incredible leaders here, and let's give each other a big wahoo for who we be. Ow, ow, ow!
Congratulations for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah, so excited. So sisters, I'm going to invite you that when something resonates with you today, you give your other cohorts here the fingers. This is what the fingers looks like. Practice it with me. The fingers basically signifies like, yeah, I'm picking up what you're laying down, speaking your language, agree with you. There's gonna be some time for Q&A, and Vivian and I are gonna debrief the event and what set up such a powerful fundraiser. I wanna actually just hear from a few of you, just one sentence. What did you notice about the fundraiser? What did you notice about what we did that really worked? What inspired you to donate $50? And what are you wanting to get out of today? One sentence, either a memory of how it went, what you remember about it, what has stayed with you since that moment, or a question if you guys want to make sure we work something into the itinerary here. Sal.
I think what impressed me was the change for the women in that were going to benefit.
Yeah.
The education.
Yeah. So you could really, I want to point that out because that's a good, important teaching point. You could tangibilize what your money was going to do, right? So we'll talk more about that, but that's super important. Kiss for Sal. Mwah. All right. How about Arlie? Hi, sweetheart.
Hello. I was actually just speaking about this yesterday, that reminder that when you have more, you can do more. And so that opportunity to be generous is so available when you've already built a platform, your money is coming in, and you're able to take your heart, your time, your energy into things that in areas that you care about. Oh, that's more than one sentence. Sorry.
That's okay. Beautiful. But I want to point out that doing events as thought leaders, raise your hand who here is going to be doing an event, right, in the next month, 2 months, 3 months, right? So as women who are getting a message out into the world, when people see you aligning with a cause, when people see you making the extra effort to go beyond just what's in it for me, that translates, right? It creates a collective goodwill that ends up inspiring your audience to not just donate, but inspiring your audience to step into the bigger yes that they have for themselves and invest in themselves. So interestingly enough, the more money you raise, the more money you make. So we're going to be talking more about that today. Julie, what about you? And kiss for Arlie, if we didn't give her one. Sometimes you have to ask for kisses around here.
You just took the words out of my mouth, Sage. I think the thing that I remember from the training was the fact that the more you give without expectation of getting, that the universe just reflects that back to you, and the more that you end up gaining, just both personally from aligning with your values, but also the more that that comes into your business, surprisingly.
Beautiful. I love that sentiment, and it's 100% right. Kiss for Julie. Mwah. Amazing and really well said, very articulate. Let's see. I saw a hand up, Sarah Atkins. Hi, sweetie. Good to see you here.
Hi. Thanks, Sage. I just wanted to say that I just came off my mastermind group, so that we're all switching right into this, because we were just talking about money and the whole thing about money. And if you love money, money will love you. If you love the concept of sharing it, and as we raise our vibrations, those vibrations will be like a funnel for support to these organizations who really need it. And then we just get a trickle off effect, and it's great for everybody. And I just feel so strongly about raising charitable funds. It's the best thing we can possibly do.
I'm so proud of you, and it's been amazing to have you in the Women Rocking Business community, being a part of that movement. Kiss for Sarah. Mwah. So that's a great lead in. We'll take more shares in a little bit. One of the things that I am super proud of is that as we've built Women Rocking Business, and as I've watched Vivian build Just Like My Child, we've been out in the world really advocating for people, not just donating to Just Like My Child, but women entrepreneurs aligning their brand with a humanitarian cause. And this is a game changer. It's a game changer for your brand. It's a game changer for your bank account. It's a game changer for your impact. And we're still tracking how much we've been able to raise here at Women Rocking Business collectively with all our clients. But it's to the tune of millions of dollars. And, as an organization, Women Rocking Business has raised just over $1 million in the last 7 years for organizations like Pachamama, the Women in the Rainforest in Ecuador, organizations like Just Like My Child in Uganda, organizations like Kiva, micro lending for women, organizations like Plastic Bank, where they're pulling plastic out of the ocean. And so, what's really cool is this opportunity to not just partner with one organization potentially, but to, over the years, align your brand with different organizations that mean something to you. The women at Women Rocking Business have collectively, our clients have raised tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars for organizations like Hope for Humanity, Save the Children, Doctors Without Borders, the Mankind Project, UNICEF, Second Harvest, Ending Child Prostitution, putting an end to female trafficking, female sex trafficking, animal rights, the Surfrider Foundation, Buds to Blossoms, the Hospice Society, Black Permaculture Network, Napa Food Bank, Art of Yoga Project, Clean Ocean Action, Women for Women International. So this is something that our clients are working on all year long, is hosting virtual events and partnering those virtual events, partnering those marketing efforts with humanitarian causes, and giving back as a way to build their brand. And so for those of you that aren't in our programs and you're interested in that, for sure, email support@sagelavine.com so we can tell you more about how to get you supported with that. But today, I really want to go through what I believe are like the 3 tenets, the 3 most important things that you've got to do when you think about how to set up a fundraiser as part of a virtual event, how to let people know about your humanitarian efforts in a way that's classy and humble and inclusive, so that it can really grow your brand and not take away from your brand, or not have you come off as somebody who's like a white savior, right? For lack of a better term, right? We've got to do this with sensitivity. And Vivian and I were very strategic in the way we set up the fundraiser that you were all a part of. And I'm super proud to say in the last 18 months, we've been able to not just raise $11,000 for Just Like My Child, but we've been able to raise, something to the tune of like almost $90,000 for Just Like My Child. Because a year ago March, Vivian and I partnered to do our first live event fundraiser in a live room of 500 women. And in that live room, some of you were probably there, we raised $75,000 in one day. And so what you can do in a live room is very inspiring. And when Vivian and I sat down to plan out the virtual event, neither of us really knew how it was going to go. I knew that we weren't going to be in person. So I knew that we weren't going to be able to create that same feeling of like, hey, I have $100 in my pocket that I got back as a refund to this event. Why don't I just hand over this $100 bill, right? We had a lot of that happening at the live event because we gave people back a $100 seat deposit. And a lot of people at that live event chose to just hand their $100 over when we did the fundraiser. And so there were all of these different forces that went into raising that much money. And I said to Vivian, I hope we can raise $5,000. Like, I hope we can raise $5,000 and, I'll donate half of that if I need to. I just want to do something. Right. And so the fact that we were able to raise $11,000 at a virtual event with less people was amazing. It was a huge win. And there were some very deliberate things that we did to set up that fundraiser that had it be as successful as it was. And Vivian, I just want to say thank you for putting this call together. Thank you for being who you are. Thank you for caring so darn much about the girls in Uganda and girls and children all over the planet. I'm going to cry. Thank you for spending your life. Vivian, you could be spending your life doing anything, and you've chosen to spend your life being a humanitarian, and that just touches the deepest part of me. So thank you for your partnership and your alliance.
Wow, thank you. And thank you so much for your partnership and your support, and to all of the amazing women who showed up for your virtual event and who chose to make a difference. And I just want to say, and also Leonard, I just want to say that I think for Jenny, who's on the call with us, who supports me, and for all of us, you can't even imagine what a gift it is to our courage and our commitment to keep going when we get the kind of feedback and input that we got from this group and from Women Rocking Business. It's just inspiring to be seen and to get that kind of affirmation from such a group of amazing entrepreneurs. So thank you.
And I also want to say thank you to every single one of you who donated. Really, truly, thank you. If you could just stretch your arms out for a moment and give yourself a big hug, and imagine that the girls from Uganda are hugging you, thanking you for your abundance mindset, to know that there's enough to pay forward, even in this critical moment. So I think the first thing, okay, so let's just dive in. The first thing to know about doing a virtual event fundraiser is that it's so critical to build the fundraiser into the storyline of the event, and not just have it be a fundraiser where you kind of are talking about one thing 1 minute and then all of a sudden you're doing a fundraiser the next minute. Does it make sense, you guys? So you want to really think about that transition. You want to think about, how do I position this fundraiser as a content piece that is part of the event? Okay. So that's really number one. And it's super critical. It's a big part of what's going to have the fundraiser come off as something that is a contribution to the audience, and not a takeaway from what they showed up for. Okay. So first of all, you want to do some teaching first, right? You don't want to actually just get on, day 4 of a video training and go straight into a fundraiser, right? You want to give them something first, whatever they came to get, whether it's relationship advice, health guidance, career support. You want to give them some tips, give them something first, and then start to get creative about how can you transition from the content you're teaching into your own expression of why this cause matters to you. Right? Vivian told me when we were setting this up, especially with George Floyd just being killed and, social unrest, coming to the surface on the planet, Vivian said, we're going to want to be really respectful. We're going to want to really be vulnerable in terms of positioning this opportunity so that it doesn't land in the wrong way. And Vivian was just so right about that. And so we thought a lot about how to transition from talking about your message and your brand to talking about a partnership with a humanitarian cause. So for us, that was pretty easy, right? When you're launching a message into the world, one of the pieces of that message can be, what do you stand for? What are your values? How do you want to give back to the world? Right? So that was our storyline. That was how our content flowed. The first day of the event was all about message clarity. So it was a smooth transition for me to start talking about how growing my business hasn't always it's never just been about helping women start businesses, which is for sure the heart of my business. But another thing I'm passionate about is women giving back. And for you, you're going to want to think about it in terms of your brand. Here's an example. My client, Sophia Tom, she has a business out of Costa Rica, and she helps women honor their bodies as their greatest source of wisdom. She calls it your temple body. Well, she partnered with an organization in LA that supports women who have been abused. And at her last event, she raised thousands of dollars for women that have been abused by making the link between, hey, if we're going to start taking care of our bodies as our temples, I'd like to take a moment to invite you to be a part of that love that we're giving our own bodies spilling out over into other women who are also struggling with their bodies and abuse. Another example is that my client, Robin Nielsen, who some of you met at the Women Rocking Business event, she helps women balance their hormones. Well, she's a stand for women's health on the planet. And at her last event, she partnered with a medical organization in India that helps women in India get the medical support they need. And so she was able to make that link between her stand for women's health and standing for not just the health of the women that she was training at that event, but standing for women's health globally and making a humble request for the women at her training to be a part of that stand with her. Right. And so you can see how that transition goes. It starts with you teaching. Here's a few tips, right? Here's a few tips. Here's some strategies you can use for yourself. Here's what I stand for. Here's what's important to me. And I'm wondering if we could take a few minutes for you to stand alongside me in making a difference in this way. Okay. So that's kind of the storyline. One of the quotes that we brought into the event is my favorite quote. This was something that I think really, the energy of this quote was really alive in our fundraiser because we didn't want, again, to be coming from a place of being a savior. And I think this is a quote that we can all use. Maybe somebody can drop it into the chat, right? If you are coming to help us, don't waste your time. But if you are coming because you realize your liberation is bound up with ours, then let's work together. Right? That was a message from Pachamama, a message from Lynn Twist, a message from an Achuar chief in indigenous territory in Ecuador. But I'll say that one more time. And if somebody could type that into the chat, I think this is a great quote to pop into a slide or to let people know what you're really standing for here, not being a savior, right? If you're coming to help us or if you're coming to save us, don't waste your time. But if you're coming because you realize that your liberation is bound up with ours, then let's work together. And that's a message from an indigenous chief in Ecuador. And that was one of the sentiments that I brought in when I introduced Vivian. You know, I told everybody that I got a chance to bring my team to Uganda with Vivian a few months prior. And that what struck me the most was that when we got there, it wasn't about Vivian. It was about the half a dozen women leaders on the ground that were Ugandan women leaders. They were the ones on the microphones. They were the ones standing up in front of hundreds of girls, asking these girls to claim their bodies as their own. And Vivian had spent her time empowering the young adults of Uganda to lead the Just Like My Child organization. Vivian could go away tomorrow, and Just Like My Child has legs. It is living. And to me, that's the sign of the kind of organization I want to partner with. And that's the cleanness that we can bring to these fundraisers so that the people who are choosing to be a part of the fundraiser with us can see the bigger picture here. And I think that cleanness, it's like a lack of codependency. Can you guys feel it? It's a lack of codependency, and it's an interdependency. That cleanness spills over into the healthy expression of being a woman entrepreneur. Because if we come from codependency as women entrepreneurs, we're constantly seeking approval outside of ourselves, from our clients, from our colleagues. But we have to realize that we can't just go be independent and just do it on our own. We can't. That's not how it works. We have to ask for support in these businesses. We are interdependent. I wouldn't be where I am in business without my friend Vivian. And I'm guessing that there's been some times that I've supported Vivian as well, just knowing our history and what our state of mind has been at times when we've reached out on the phone to each other, really needing someone to stand for us in that moment. None of you guys can do this alone. Okay. So be quicker to ask for help. Be quicker to know that you're interdependent with other leaders in this business. You're not going to be able to do it alone. And when we come from that place as humanitarians and from a fundraising perspective, I think that it stays really clean. And Vivian, would you like to add anything and maybe even show the video? What do you think?
Sure. I think that's such a beautiful sentiment, Sage, in terms of, for me, of course, my whole intention, and Just Like My Child Foundation's whole intention, is to empower girls to transform their own lives, to empower communities to be able to transform their own worlds and communities. And, you know, just like as parents, we don't want to constantly be inputting into our kids. Our whole goal is to have them be independent and self-sustaining. And I think, you know, just energetically for me on the planet, that's been the most beautiful output of working with Just Like My Child and empowering women to really stand up for themselves. So yeah, so with that, I can share my, hang on, I'll bring this up, this video up, and then I'll share my screen. So this is just a little introduction. We had shown this, but it's a little introduction to how we do empower girls. And I think we can all use this message.
Girls grow up thinking that they are meant to be married off and taken by any other person. Girls grow up thinking that different parts of their bodies belong to their boyfriends, belong to their men. But in the GAPA project, we are saying these bodies belong to you. You have the power to control it. You have the power to decide who touches and who doesn't when the time comes. You have the power to decide that it's mine and I love it.
So that's a pretty interesting treatment that I think when we shot this video, we didn't really realize it pertained to the whole planet.
Hold on just a second. Let me clean up the line here.
Sorry.
Let's get you unmuted, Vivian. All right, you guys just keep yourselves muted.
All right, there I am. Boy, you're a whiz at that, Sage. I'll need a private lesson. I think we just didn't really realize how foundational that message was going to be to not only the girls that we work with, but the communities and to the planet as a whole, you know, to really have bodily integrity, to know what our power is, to find the courage to unleash our voices. I think that for me, the most important thing in this alignment and in this partnership is that the way that women use their power is very, very different from the way that men use power. And what you're teaching in terms of women rocking business is finding this power within, which is really the foundation for our power as women. You know, when we feel good about ourselves, when we know that we're of value, then we bring it forth. And then we seek power with, which is basically seeking the sisterhood. So everything that we're doing here and empowering each other to step into a larger version of ourselves is what we teach girls in Uganda and all over the world. And then, so it's power within, power with, and then that enables women to have power to have domain over their environment, over the forces that impact them, to have to be leaders, to operate in a political sphere, which we see is so essential right now. And so I think this is really, you know, it's the metaphor. What we, you know, girl power is all over. And it's so important for us to step into that potential so that we can transform the future in the world.
100%. And that metaphor of power within, power with, and then power to is so helpful for us as entrepreneurs as well. You can see why Women Rocking Business and the Girl Power Project make a really good alliance with each other. You guys, I'm sure, can see that. And that's why Girl Power Project and Women Rocking Business have gone into a deeper partnership where it wasn't just a one-off fundraiser. Now we're looking for ways we can support each other more long-term. And as you all consider finding those organizations, I want to invite you to remember, write this down, what you stand for. Because when you are firmly rooted in what you stand for, you're never going to have to use pushy sales tactics another day in your life. Can you feel that? And so that spills over into the humanitarian cause that you may bring into your work. That spills over into the way you make an offer, the way you talk about your services. Because when you're clear on what you stand for, that's inarguable. People either want to be a part of that or they don't. There's no convincing. Can you feel that? And so that leads me to the next teaching point, which is that it's about the quality of the connection people feel to the fundraiser. It's not about the quantity. Okay. So, dun, 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 dun. And that goes hand in hand with what you stand for. And how you're standing with your audience. Can you guys see that okay? So remember that it's about you standing for something, and then it's about standing with your participants, because what you're doing is you're unifying the group around a common goal. And in a moment, we're going to talk about the third important strategy, which has to do with really tangibilizing your goals so that the group can unite around an intention, right? Vivian and I got really clear that we wanted to push the group a little bit to see if we could raise 10 grand. And then we wanted to come up with a really clear reason why. What would that $10,000 do? Because we knew with a few hundred women on the lines that we could raise $10,000. We knew that that wasn't too much of a stretch, but we also wanted to position it so that it was a win for you and a win for us and a win for Just Like My Child. And that started by us, first of all, letting you off the hook, whether you don't donate 25 bucks or 10 bucks or 100 bucks. That's not what we care about. What we care about, right? What we care about is that we can make a difference for girls in Uganda, right? The video that we chose to show was inarguable. There's no woman I can think of that wouldn't want to stand for women having autonomy with their bodies. And so however you create that message, whether you create it with a video, if you partner with a humanitarian cause where they have a video where they can show their work through video, whether you create that through reading a quote or reading a passage from a book or through pictures. I showed some pictures of myself in Uganda. You've got to bring that energy of what the cause is to your participants. And then you've got to really stand in that quality of their connection to the cause. It's not just about your connection to the cause. It's about inviting them to feel whether this is something that matters to them, whether this is something they'd like to be a part of. And it's not about, pushing them for, hundreds or thousands of dollars. Vivian, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I think that what you were able to do there for us in terms of my fundraising background and know-how is the opportunity for you to show yourself in the mix. So Sage, having come to Uganda, having spent time there, it enables your community and your group to go there with you. It's not just some concept that's really far away. The credibility factor is hugely increased. It's like, oh my gosh, you were there. I can picture myself there. So I think really being able to show that what your active involvement has done, I think that is as well, as humans, but particularly as women, we have such incredible fulfillment through service and through contribution that it just enables people to step on the path with you. They can envision themselves in that role. So I think that's a huge part. And I also just want to say, whatever it is that you're committed to or whatever you love to do, who you are being will be communicated. So whatever your passion is, whatever your service is, when you show up with it, people want to invest in it.
I totally agree 100%. And I love this piece of the conversation. And I also want to really remind us, it's not just about whether you've been to that country or not. It's not just about whether you've, met the people who are receiving the gift or not. We were able to raise $75,000 on a live stage before I had ever been to Uganda. And so the way that I did that was, the way that I brought myself into that conversation was I told the audience what it was like for me the first time I sat across the table from Vivian, looking into her eyes and seeing the pictures that she was showing me of these girls in Uganda and hearing the stories. So that was my point of connection. But Write this down. You need a point of connection to the cause. You're the facilitator of the event. You're the leader. So don't just hand over this moment to somebody who has a humanitarian organization and just trust them to make that transition. Are you guys picking up what I'm laying down? You have to connect yourself to it. And that's going to be the through line. So it can be a conversation you had with somebody involved with the organization. It can be a video you saw. But when you share with your audience, this is how that moment touched me, this is how that moment changed me, that's where the audience is going to go with you. And now whoever you're partnering with is now part of the community that you've created in that virtual event. They're not an outsider. And I've even done a fundraiser where I did most of the presentation myself, because there was a year when Lynn Twist was not able to come and be on stage with me because of health concerns. And so I pretty much put the presentation together. She had a staff member in the room, but I pretty much did it and raised $25,000 on her behalf. So I just want to say, if you're working with an organization where there maybe is not somebody who feels really comfortable on stage, you don't actually need that much from them if you're wanting to get creative on behalf of that organization. And of course, you can also do something easy like partner with Vivian or Jenny from Just Like My Child, right? Or partner with an organization that has some chops in doing this kind of fundraising. And that will also make it easier on you. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about the third key here, because the third key to having this kind of a fundraiser go well is to create tangible goals. And there's one more piece to this too. So the third key to really doing this well is to create tangible goals and social proof, a way that people can let you know they are donating. So let's talk about the tangible goals first. So when Vivian and I determined that we really wanted to go for at least a $10,000 fundraise, I asked Vivian, what can we do with $10,000? How many girls can we make a difference for with $10,000? And she went and she crunched some numbers, and she came back and she said to me, we can put 200 girls through our financial empowerment training with $10,000, right? That's 200 girls that get to learn how to save money, make money, how to be a smart businesswoman, and how to protect themselves if a man comes at them, like on the way to the borehole, on the way to go fetch water, and some man comes at them wanting to use their bodies for his good. They know what to do. They have the skills, they have the tools to stop that attack or stop that action that's being taken. So I got really excited. 200 girls, that's a lot of girls. I got excited, and that excitement was important to the fundraiser, because if I'm excited, you all can feel my excitement. The audience can feel my excitement, right? And so do you want to say a little bit more about this piece, Vivian, and we can show them the website as well?
Sure. I think that, again, throughout my history of fundraising here, the ability to be really tangible about an outcome is hugely beneficial. So if we know it's going to cost $50 a girl to put her through X number of hours of training, or if you know that $100 will put her through 2 years of training and this will be the outcome and here's the proof, that is super, super important. And at some point I'd like to get a little bit of feedback about what was it that sort of triggered your heart opening and commitment. And I think what we're going to get to talk about this a little bit, but do you want me to bring up the site?
Yeah, that'd be great. So the other piece to this, you guys, is it wasn't just about, okay, so it's not just about what we can do with $10,000. It's also about what can you give your audience if they donate at different levels, right? This is a level of thinking through ahead of time. It's a level of sophistication. You don't need a fancy website. You could pop this into a slideshow. You could write this up on a flip chart, in the way that you guys see me do sometimes. But having something that your participants get when they donate is really powerful. So both of those things were strategized. How much money we were hoping to raise and what we wanted to be able to do for those of you that donated. So yeah, Vivian, let's pop up the website and then I'll get you guys some screenshots as well here
Yeah,
with.
and I just want to say that this was being able to create this website is something that we internally took on as a project, and literally this took us 10 minutes to do, just in terms of getting the graphics up, or Jenny maybe took a little bit longer, but we've created an infrastructure through our platform that makes this super, super easy to do, like, and way preferable to things like Facebook, fundraising, etc. So you can see the totals are in here. We exceeded our goals. You're able to sort of show the imagery. And I think the thing that you really want to talk about, Sage, is some of the things that just sort of get you over the edge and like, yeah, there's a little ROI here if I give. I really want to give, but it's nice to have these benefits as well.
Yeah, so you guys can see that at the $25 level, you got a chance to take advantage of Vivian's amazing book, How to Change the World While You Work. For those of you that might be listening to this as a recording or a replay, you guys can go buy Vivian's book on Amazon, and I highly recommend it. It's called How to Change the World While You Work by Vivian Glyck. And if you donated $50, you got a chance to be a part of this incredible training. And if you donated $100, Vivian's team put a gorgeous strand of authentic Ugandan beads, a beautiful necklace, in the mail, and you got to receive that in the mail. And so, right, those were some wonderful little gifts and thank yous that we were able to give you on behalf of those donations. And some of those gifts didn't actually cost us a lot of extra money over here. It cost us some of our time, right? But we were able to serve all of you with this training. And it was a way to give to the girls, right? You see musicians doing this all the time. Famous musicians will gather together and do a concert as a fundraiser for a wonderful cause. And they're just giving their time. They're showing up and playing music. So you can all be thinking along these lines of, how do you give back to your donors? How could you have some different levels that people could reach toward? It's pretty cool what can happen, because then you can push toward a goal like $2,000 or $5,000 or $10,000 or $50,000 with a lot more like confidence that you can actually create that. And the book that Vivian's offering you guys is a virtual copy of her book. It's a digital download, so you'll be able to have lifetime access to it. And if you have not received that book in the mail, check your inbox, and Vivian, I'm sure, can resend that out. But it's an amazing book. You'll get that digital download. And yeah, I can see many of you guys have gotten your necklaces, your beads, and that you love them. I love my beads as well. Let's see. I think at this point, it would be great to take a few questions and help any of you strategizing your own fundraisers for a few minutes. And then I've got one more piece I want to share before we wrap up. Who feels excited about a fundraiser? And you guys, I really want to emphasize you can start small. So let me just, say this real quick. I'm going to recommend for every single one of you guys that you start small, that you bring in a small fundraiser as part of a video challenge, a multi-day video challenge, or you could do it with your clients. We did a fundraiser a few months ago for an organization called Color of Change, and I did it at a client retreat. You know, we had 170 clients on the line, and I've done this with 20 clients. And we just decided we wanted to raise some money for racial awareness. And I offered a free training to anybody that was willing to give 25 bucks. And we raised like $3,000 and it felt amazing. Right. And so it's like everybody here can start somewhere, right? By just bringing in the storyline, bringing in your passionate heart, gifting everybody some kind of extra access to you or to one of your colleagues. If people can just donate, something really reasonable, like $25, you can just have one level. Any of you that can donate $25, I'd like to spend a few extra hours on the phone with you, helping you get X, Y, and Z outcome. And then boom, you can proudly go out to your audience and say, hey, I just did my first official fundraiser and we raised $1,500. We raised $3,000. It doesn't matter the amount. But another thing that also really helps is to think about within yourself, what is an amount that you can donate to kick off the donations? I would say that was the last important strategy that you should know, is that anytime I've ever done a fundraiser, I always like to kick off the donations with some kind of a generous gift, right? I kicked off this particular fundraiser with a donation of $1,000. And so I said to all of you on the screens, we'd like to raise $10,000 and I'm putting down 1,000 right now. I've got my own skin in the game. So we're already 10% of the way there. Will you help me? Would you help me raise the remainder? And that's when you all were on fire. And Vivian very strategically set up her website so that when you donated, you could leave a little comment that you had donated. And so people could see that other women were donating. And the other thing that I did was I put up a sticker in the Facebook group. I put up one of those blocks of color in the Facebook group where the event was taking place. And I said, we're doing it. We're wanting to raise $10,000 for Just Like My Child. If you donate, will you let us know below? Right. And as we were doing the fundraiser and as I was explaining the $25 gift, the $50 gift, the comments thread was blowing up inside the Facebook group and women were saying, I just donated, I'm in, I'm super happy to donate. I'm excited for the training with Vivian and Sage. And so then you guys saw each other donating. Are you guys with me on this? That social proof is really important. And if you have a small group, you can even prompt your team to help you start that off. I remember asking Leonard, who's here listening to this training, my sound guy, would you be willing to donate? And he said, heck yeah, I'll donate. And so I knew Leonard was going to pop a note in that Facebook thread that said, hey, I just donated. I had 2 other teammates that had agreed to me to make sure that they popped a note in that Facebook thread when they donated. And so I didn't have to feel like I was out on a little limb hoping somebody would donate. I already had set it up that there were going to be a few donors. And so right away, all of my participants could see that we were aligned on this. This was something that meant something to even more than just me. So you guys can set that up for yourself so you don't have to feel, quite so vulnerable about this. It's a really wise thing to do to actually just get yourself that backup. Sweet, sweet, sweet. I love this conversation. So who wants to share, ask a question? Yvonne, what do you got?
Would you ever do this when it's not a virtual event? I mean, would you ever do this just from your Facebook page, or does it have to be an in-person event?
So, I did a fundraiser for an organization called Charity Water. And I just did it because I met Scott and he's amazing. And I just put a little video together and I sent out a couple emails about it. And I think we raised like maybe $2,000 or $3,000 for him, which is great, but it's not what it's not what my community is capable of. Do you know what I mean? And I have a pretty big community, I'm reaching over 100,000 people online. And so until you have a bigger community, I don't see, unless you put a lot of effort into making that video and sending emails out and really going out of your way, I think it's hard to get the same momentum. Does that make sense? Because especially for those of you that are still building your business, it's like you only have so much energy to put into everything that you're doing. And the reason I really like to invite you guys to do it when you have people gathered anyway is because most of you are gathering people anyway. And if you're gathering people anyway, why not take 10 or 15 minutes to do something like this? Because it opens everybody's hearts. And that's, I think, the thing that I do want to add, you guys, is every time I've done a fundraiser as part of an event, we've made more money. The more money we raise, the more money we make. And the one year I didn't do a fundraiser, we made less money. We converted less in the room than we had ever we still made money, but it wasn't as successful. And so I truly believe that when people open their hearts to do the right thing, then they're also more willing to invest in themselves. Can you feel it? It's an energy. And so I want to really put a stake in the ground that all of you know that this is not a takeaway from your offer. This is an addition to the offer that you're making, because you're helping people feel their own potential. You're getting people out of their own way. And then when it's time for them to consider saying yes to themselves, they're much more likely to do that. And who here said yes to yourself after saying yes to Just Like My Child? And now you're spending the year with us, right? Raise your hands high if you said yes to yourself and you said yes to Just Like My Child. So I'm seeing like half the hands go up. So that's pretty impressive. And for those of you that might not have jumped into our program, you may be saying yes to yourself in other ways. And you may want to go on a Women Rocking Business journey in the future when it's time. So that's all a part of the collective yes, right? So Yvonne, the answer is yeah, totally. You can do a one-off event, but it's not like a lot of people are just going to kind of go blind to that because there's so much of that happening on the internet. Don't you guys agree? There's just so much of it happening already. It's like we're always kind of fighting for people's attention. So I'd almost rather you fight for people's attention on behalf of your own brand and then weave in, the invitation would be to weave in a fundraiser as part of your own bigger mission on the planet. That being said, you can absolutely take everything that we're teaching you and apply it to whatever you want to do.
Just for the record, it's not that I want to do it that way. I'd rather do it in a live event, but my events have been so small. But I really like what you just said about you'd rather have us fight on behalf of our own brand. I think that really landed. And that tells me I can do it the next time I do a master class.
Yes. I would push you to do a Facebook challenge, a video challenge, because you have all the tools to do a video challenge, do a 3-day video challenge or a 5-day video challenge. And on day 2 or 3, do a 10-minute fundraiser. And if you have 40 people on the line, see if you guys can raise $500. Let people know what you could do with $500, and let everybody know that you're kicking off the donations with $50 or $100. Because what happens then is those 20 or 30 or 40 people that are on the line, you just connected with them in a much deeper way. And they go off and they tell their sister, they tell their friend, they tell somebody, oh my gosh, I was part of this thing this morning and it really meant something to me, right? Because people don't remember what you told them. They remember how you made them feel. So again, it's not the quantity, it's the quality. Vivian, you want to add something?
I do. First of all, I'd really like to re-emphasize this point about it's happened with me on a couple of occasions where people are concerned, the speaker, the presenter is concerned that if they fundraise, that they'll be pulling more money out of the audience than they can end up when they get to their sales or to their offer. And I would like to say I have been on stages where, I've spoken in front of 5,000 people, and it is exactly the opposite. The ability and the sales and the offer always does better if people's hearts are opened. I also just want to mention my husband, who's been extremely supportive in fundraising. It took a while for him to make this leap to offering or to fundraising for Just Like My Child during one of his live events. And yes, they did better in terms of the sales and in terms of the offer. But the thing that was really distinct was, as he started to do this more, the demographics of his audience started to change. It became broader. It was more multicultural. There were far more women. He increased the attractiveness of his product because people trust people who have open hearts. It's all part of the cause-related marketing that you see, and it's the right thing to do. And I think that's the same thing about what Sage said. Who people just see who you are being, and they will trust you more if they feel as though your number one is contribution and service, as opposed to getting something from them.
100%. I could not agree more. And it's counterintuitive. And when you're first starting out making these offers, it can feel really risky. But I promise you, if you sandwich content on either side of the fundraiser, and if you stay in your lane and don't spend way too much time going off on a tangent about this fundraiser, but you keep it concise, 10 or 15 minutes, and then you bring it back, and then you teach them one more thing before the training is up, you're going to have a group of people that is much more likely to invest in your offer than they otherwise would have been. So super inspiring, I think, because it's like we get to do the right thing for the planet and we get rewarded in the process, because each of you deserves to have the kind of revenue coming into your business that is truly possible for you. Kiss for Yvonne. Mwah, thank you. Such a good question. Jennifer, your hand is up. Are you still there?
Can you see me?
Hi, love.
Hey, question for you. Something that I noticed with the 3D event that you put on, you didn't mention Vivian's organization as like a part of getting people to come. It just happened so naturally and such that flow. And I'm wondering, is that something that was, you know, purposeful to like kind of keep it behind the curtain and then like reveal it as like, look how you can change the world. And do you suggest to also, or rather, when would you suggest to kind of put it in the front as like, for instance, for a summit, like, and proceeds might be donated to this organization, not might, but would be donated to this organization, and we'll have a talk about the organization, things like that. I would love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah. So here's the thing about digital marketing. We have to work really hard to get people to come and listen to us. We just do. It all becomes easier when we surrender to the fact that getting people to come and hear what we have to say is going to be work. You know, like, don't forget to reserve enough of your own energy to get them there, because as soon as they're there, then they're in your world and you get to take them where, you know, you want to go. Of course, they can hang up the line, but I say that because Vivian was mentioned in the promo for the event, but you had to look. She was on the website listed as a speaker, how to make money while you work. She was in at least 2 of the promo emails that went out. But in terms of the top marketing for the event, the top marketing for the event was based on, I'm going to help you find your clients online. And that's how we got over 400 women there. I can confidently say we would not have had over 400 women there if I had diluted the message too much, right? It was clear from the beginning that this was a women's event. This was not just going to be pushy sales, that there was going to be a 3-day experience, find your clients online. You know, there's going to be some pieces around, you know, feminine empowerment. And so it wasn't like Vivian was coming out of, you know, total different, you know, left, what's the expression? It's not like it's not like she was a major curveball, right? But I want to invite you guys to consider keeping the top marketing for your events focused on the outcome, because people are not coming to your event. Think about it. If you were signing up for an event to help you build your business or help you improve your health or help you in your marriage or your relationship, you know, would it really help you want to spend your time or money that way if somebody was like, yeah, and I'm going to bring in this cool fundraiser? You'd be like, okay, well, I want to save my marriage, right? So that's just something to think about. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you so much.
You're
yeah,
welcome.
Totally.
Kiss for Jennifer. Mwah. Good question. Really good question. What about you, Lauren? And by the way, if you guys are doing a summit, absolutely, you can just let people know like, hey, this organization is going to be represented, you know, both from you to learn, you know, but primarily just for you to learn from, you know. And, you know, we have given proceeds from a paid event or a percentage of proceeds to a humanitarian cause. However, it doesn't really mean the same thing when people are signing up for the event in the beginning as it does when they actually get to be an active part of the fundraiser. Dun, 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 dun. Lauren.
Hi, Sage. Thank you so much, you and Vivian, for doing this. This is wonderful. My question is, would you ever somehow overlap the fundraising event with the offer for your program? Because I see, as it is right now, it seems like they're separate, right? There's content that kind of keeps them separate, but like, say you let the fundraiser go on for like a few days, and so like the offer was made for your program, and then say, well, if you donate, you know, to this organization, I'll cut off 25% off the down payment or something. I don't know, something to entice them. Would it ever be like a discount, or is it always like an added gift? And does it always need to be separate?
It doesn't necessarily need to be separate. You can, you know, I think the cleaner way to do that would be, you know, for everybody that jumps into the program, we're going to donate, you know, 5% of your tuition to such and such cause. But I don't believe it's as powerful. And here's why. There's a couple reasons. Number one, doing the fundraising offer before the offer actually opens people's hearts in a way that is tangible. I can literally feel the difference in my participants, whether it's virtual, I've done this dozens of times now, you guys. I've done this so many times. And I usually go in, I'll be honest, I usually go in with a little bit of nervousness around the fundraiser. I'm like, is it going to work? Are we going to raise money? Is it going to affect my offer? How is it going to affect my offer? Sometimes I call Vivian and have her remind me that every freaking time they both work, right? And so it's like, you know, you've got to know that you're going to be walking through some resistance no matter what you decide to do, whether it's a masterclass or a Facebook challenge or whatever. You're going to walk through resistance because you're creating something from nothing. You're giving birth, right? And to add a fundraiser is a whole nother little layer of complexity. Let's be honest, especially when you're getting started. But I actually believe the fundraiser sets up the offer, and your offer is going to go better.
Right.
And so to try to make an offer and then tell people that 5% is going to go to this thing, can you guys feel how it dilutes the offer? Because now you're trying to describe what the 5% is going to go to. And it dilutes the fundraiser. It doesn't actually give proper attention to the fundraiser. And so there really is an art, you know, I'm by far not the only one who does this model where 3-day event on day 1, there's a fundraiser. On day 2, there's an offer. We're reminding people about the fundraiser all the way through. And on day 3, there's a last chance. You got to jump into the offer now, or you're not going to get this special discount, or you're not going to get this special bonus. There's a science to this. Vivian's husband, Mike Koenigs, does this. Gosh, I've seen Tony Robbins do a version of this. Lisa Sasevich does this, right? It's like there is a science to it. It works. And so I would encourage you guys to try this method for yourself. So you can see it work for you, because like anything else, you kind of have to suspend your disbelief and be willing to walk through the resistance and try it out. But Lauren, yeah, I think you'll have better results if you think about it that way.
Great.
Vivian,
Thank
do you want to add?
Yes, sorry about my phone earlier. 2 things I'd like to mention to you.
Okay. Calm down.
Hold on, you
Oh my
guys.
God.
Hold on, you guys. We're going to get everybody muted here. Okay, Vivian, get yourself unmuted now. Okay, here we go.
First of all, Lauren, I think that there's a big distinction if you were to do something like that, like give somebody a discount, or, you know, tell them that a portion of the proceeds would go to their purchase. Number 1 is all of you now are donors to Just Like My Child directly. So you have given to the organization. It isn't as though Sage is the only donor because she collected the funds and now she gave to us. And I think that just energetically, that's extremely different, right? I also, while I think and I love the bonuses that we gave here because they're inexpensive to the organization, they're educational, etc. I would watch between, and I've learned this over the years, to not become very transactional with if you donate this, I'll give you this in exchange, because that's really shopping. It's not a donation. So you get some trinkets, you get a little something to acknowledge that you gave and you served, but it's not this decision where you make in your mind, oh, well, if I give $5,000, I'm going to get this yacht trip on this whatever, and now I've got my vacations covered and all of that. People like to do that. I think it takes away from the energetics of the giving. I hope that that's helpful.
Yeah, it is. Thank you. Thank you both for that.
Awesome. Kiss for Lauren. Mwah. How about you, Demi?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, great. Oh, this is so awesome. Thank you, Sage. It's just been such a delight to do all your programs. So my question here is, I wonder if you could please give us some tips on the best way to actually approach an organization. So like I stand for mental health, and I really want to kind of like get the whole education thing so that we can teach kids to live well rather than have to deal with depression when it's too late and it's already happened. They're already in the doldrums. Let's have people living well in the first place.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like my mission. So one of the groups that I'm really into is the YMCA, because they do a lot with helping these kids that otherwise would be in a real dire mess. So I have kind of approached them, but obviously I'm quite small level at the moment. I don't do big groups or anything. So what would be the best way to be able to approach them and come across as really credible, and so this is going to be something really worthwhile them being associated with?
Absolutely. When I was just starting out, I approached Pachamama and Lynn Twist's organization by emailing them and saying, hey, I have an event coming up. We're going to hopefully have 40 or 50 people there. Is there somebody that's a part of your organization that could pop on and help me do a quick fundraiser? And Lynn Twist wasn't available when I had 40 or 50 people, but she had somebody in her organization that was available to hop on and help me with that. And so I met with that woman. Her name's Sarah Vetter. We've become very good friends. And Lynn has watched my business grow over the years. And as soon as she saw that I was raising $10,000, $5,000, any amount of money, guess what? She now knew who I was. And when I had an event where I had several hundred women coming, then she was ready to come herself and be on my stage, and not only come, but promote my event. Right? I'm going to put her in front of several hundred women, and she was happy to get some emails out promoting the event. And so you absolutely can start small just by letting people know, hey, I have an event coming up. There's going to be, I'm hoping to have this many people there. Is there somebody from your organization that could help me create a little fundraiser for you guys? Because here's what I love about your organization. And that can actually be the beginning of a really long and fruitful partnership. It's exciting. I'm proud of you for doing that.
Oh, fabulous. Thank you. That's really helpful. Thanks so much, Sage. What an honor to be actually speaking live here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Demi. Kiss for Demi. Mwah. So good. What about you? I saw some other hands up. We have time for just a couple more. Jennifer, is your still hand up, or was it up for before?
I have a new question.
Oh, great.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. So just to clarify, with the actually setting up the container, let's say for a 3-day summit, so maybe not necessarily like the first talk being this, but you would suggest talking about the organization in the first day. Is that correct? Not the second day?
Yes. So 3-day event, it works really well if you, for a 3-day event, spend the morning teaching just content. Do the fundraiser sometime between lunch and dinner, or sometime in the second half of the day on day 1.
Okay.
Weave it into the day. Do not let the fundraiser take up more than maybe 15 to 20% of the day, because you want to make sure you're delivering on the promises that you made to your participants. So day 1, teach all morning, do the fundraiser sometime in the afternoon. Fundraiser doesn't take up more than 15% of the day. Day 2, you come back, do more teaching, make your offer after lunch on day 2. And then on day 3, come back, do more teaching, have a last chance offer before lunch. And then after lunch on day 3, we do more teaching so that people don't feel like they just came to this event to get sold to, right? That's not your intention anyway, right? So you're teaching all the way through. The other thing that we did was that we were reminding people each day of the fundraiser and how much we had raised. And I had one instance where we got really close to our goal. We were like $150 short of our goal. This was a couple years ago. And I just decided to put in $150 myself because I wanted us to reach the goal. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you guys can, and I also have had this situation where we got really close and it made sense for me to come back to the audience and say, hey, you guys, we raised $9,000 and we're $1,000 short. I'm curious if anybody here either hasn't donated yet or would want to be a part of helping us tip over the edge of that goal. And I'm going to throw in another $100. And a quick show of hands, right? To just kind of see what we can do as a group. And then I also like to talk about how much money we've raised somewhere as part of the offer, or as I'm mentioning the offer, I like to mention like, hey, as a group, here's what we just did. This is pretty amazing. And for those of you that would like to take this one step further and be a part of more transformation for yourself, right? There's an opportunity to do that by jumping into our year-long program, right? So you can bring in that feeling of accomplishment. We just did something. This is about you changing your life. And we just changed these children's lives, or we just changed these women's lives. Because you guys, that's what really is the very best sales on the planet, is when you can unhook yourself from thinking you need to convince anybody or thinking they need to invest in order for you to win. That's not sales, right? Conscious sales is, I'm standing for you to have a transformation. I'm standing for every single one of you to have such a bold and audacious business transformation that you grow your business and your brand and your ability to give back to the point where you never have to worry about money again. You can be as much of a humanitarian as you ever want to be, right? That's what my life has started to look like. I have many clients who have achieved that in their lives. And so, right, I get to stand in that. And can you feel, each and every one of you, can you feel how your job is not to convince anybody to buy your thing? Your job is to stand so firmly in what you are standing for your audience to have if they want it. And that gives them the space to choose to invest in themselves. And I believe that's the best, the most incredible conscious salespeople on the planet. The skill of sales is just one little fraction of who they are. Who we be as leaders is leaders who inspire people to change. We inspire people to become the greatest version of themselves. And in the process, we get to make a difference for people because we have a program that makes a difference for them. Right. And that's why I think this fundraising model is so cool, because we can do all of those things at once. And I believe the work I do and the work my clients do to get rooted in our hearts in order to do a fundraiser as part of an event like this, that personal work I do to get rooted in my heart of, yes, this is about me. It's about Women Rocking Business. It's about Uganda. It's about the world. It's about the fact that we're living in a broken world. It's about me trusting the universe, trusting God, trusting the goddess, trusting whatever word for, divine source support or universal support, whatever word resonates with you. When you get firmly rooted in that consciousness, your whole event is going to be cleaner and better anyway. Because at the end of the day, if people don't buy my stuff, I better go do something else, And I would so much rather be out there with my heart on the line, just standing for what I believe, than trying to convince anybody of anything. So what's so cool about doing a fundraiser like this is that each of you get to do the inner work to open your hearts all the way up to being in service. And then you get to go be that woman leader, and people will choose in or choose out. And trust me when I say the right people are going to choose in, and it can feel clunky at first, right? So don't expect yourself to be perfect right off the bat, but you guys are amazing. That's why you're here. You showed up for this, you showed up for this training. There's a lot of other things you could be doing right now, and here you are learning how to make a difference in the world while you work. Your hearts are in the right place, so people will feel that. Kiss for Jennifer. Mwah. I'm glad you asked that second question.
I do have a small question just for clarity purposes, if that's okay.
Yeah.
And just to clarify, when we were talking about the, maybe the billboard, as you called it before, the sign on the door, are you suggesting to not basically like when people are buying tickets to their event, to my event or a summit, to not say or to not have a portion of the proceeds go towards a certain organization and actually just do it as like a fundraising topic in the event?
I just don't think you need to do both.
Okay.
Here's the thing with marketing, every single thing you do takes a lot of energy. You guys know it's no joke to fill these events. There's all this complexity and, if you're going to do a fundraiser, then that's plenty. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
you don't necessarily need to do that on the front end, because the truth is also how do I say this? Most of us at the end of the day, are undercharging. Let's just be honest, right? Most of you really do need more money in your pockets. And so I would rather you guys do your humanitarian work in a really simple and clean way, so you can also keep as much money in your pocket as possible. Because the more money that's in your pocket, the more you're going to you guys, I'm at the point in Women Rocking Business where I have a whole team of people helping me with this collaboration with Vivian. It's not just me. Leonard was behind it. Leonard had the slideshow. My event coordinator, Valina, was coordinating with Vivian's assistant, Jenny, and they were coordinating back and forth on the timing and the website and the Zoom link and making sure all of you guys found your way to this call today. And so most of you guys don't have teams like that. Do you know what I mean? And so it's like in the beginning, and I was right where you are when I did my very first fundraiser with Pachamama. They didn't know who I was. I had 40 people on the line. I was hoping to raise $3,000 for them. I was right where you are. So when I was there, I kept it as simple as possible so that I could just get that next result and then that next result. So I just want to make sure, I don't know about you guys, but I get this thing called Dream Jam where all my dreams are coming through and I'm a visionary and I can't possibly do it all at once. Can anybody relate to this? If you have this, if you too get diagnosed with Dream Jam, the cure is simplicity. the saving grace is simplicity. Now, that being said, there's been a few times in the course of Women Rocking Business that I let people know a percentage of our profits are going to a certain cause. 10% or something, because it's a time in my life where that cause is just really important to me. And I'm just going to give 10% and it just feels good to do it. And what I'm also aware of is people aren't necessarily going to sign up because of that, but it's going to be a little stroke of goodwill in the funnel. And it's not that I say don't do that. It's just that I want to make sure you guys are being really wise about how you're prioritizing your time and keeping things simple so you can really get to the front side of your money. Cool. Awesome. One more kiss for Jennifer. Mwah. What about Alice? We've got about 10 more minutes, I think, and then we're going to wrap up. Alice, what you got?
Hi, Sage. Thank you. I do have a question about, I don't know, I'm not for sure how to put my question out, but as a business, I'm working on green environments around schools, as you know, maybe, on small events for raising awareness. That's what I have done the last years. And to make things possible in a better way or in an easier way, I was trying to put on my own foundation. But it's a sort of mixing. I don't know. You can have your own foundation because it's easier to get money to do your good work, but it's another way to have a business and to let the money come through your business and do your work in a good way after that. So, yeah. But it's sort of confusing for me and a sort of struggle. What's the best way? It's both maybe, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think this is probably a question for Vivian, right? It's like, yeah, you know, you can have your own foundation and then you can have your business that has a message to it. And how do you decide what you want to put your life force energy into, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would, you know, when people ask this question about, oh, I want to start, and what I assume you're asking is, should I put a lot of energy into building a foundation? Is it what I say is, the name of this organization is Just Like My Child Foundation, comma, Inc. It takes an enormous amount of energy to run this foundation on the business side. So, you know, and I'm not sure what country you're in, but what we have to go through in terms of filing, in terms of employment, in terms of technology, in terms of platform, if you want to do it well, is a full-time thing. You know, I think sometimes that people confuse the desire to serve with, I have to have a foundation. And I think that given what I've experienced over 15 years of running this organization, if you want to do it really well, do it full time. You know, if you want to have something that you give to that fills your heart, then find the philanthropy that's doing it well, that you know is having the impact. Because at the end of the day, you really want to have the legacy of the impact. I think that's what certainly is what caused me to do it, right?
And that's the thing, right? Like I've had to tell Vivian several times, like, do not let me abandon Women Rocking Business to just come work for you. because there are days when I would. Are you guys picking up what I'm laying down? But the truth is that I'm making the difference that I'm supposed to make. See, through Women Rocking Business. And it's so much easier for me to partner with Vivian and raise tens of thousands of dollars for her per year. And as you guys grow your businesses and you're making $100,000 or hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, you guys can actually make, in some ways, even a bigger difference for an organization than you might be able to make if you were to try to start up that foundation on your own. You know, Lynn Twist has both. She has a Pachamama nonprofit and she has a training company called Soul of Money. But guess what? Her husband runs the nonprofit, Bill Twist, right? There's a little thing that Lynn Twist has called Bill Twist. And so I just want to make sure that you're like Vivian and I are coming through clear that there's nobody out there that I know that has successfully on their own really done both really successfully until they get their business at a certain point. Get your business to 7 figures. And then, yeah, I could start a foundation now because I have a team that can help me. But I'd much rather you guys set yourself up for financial freedom so you can be the light of the world, right? You can't be the light of the world without being able to pay your Get yourself financially set. And then from there, you can create whatever you want. But in the interim, I believe it's a much more strategic decision to partner with organizations in the way that Vivian and I have partnered, where Vivian has all the infrastructure for fundraising, collecting that money, and getting that money where it will do the most good. That's her job. My job is to bring my message and help, you know, reallocating that money. So I just want to make sure none of you fall into some kind of story that going off and starting a nonprofit is going to be any easier, because it's not. And Vivian and I, honestly, I think you'd probably agree with me. Vivian and I spend probably 80 or 90% of our time doing very similar stuff. We're thinking about marketing, we're managing people, we're leading people, we're dealing with technology, we're figuring out paperwork and taxes. And like, you're going to have to do all that stuff, whether you have a nonprofit or a for-profit. And I think a lot of people would argue that it's easier to make money in a for-profit business and then reallocate some of that money where it needs to go, you know?
Or I would also say, because I feel this for me personally, or volunteer.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to get the juice out of knowing that you're making that connection. And that comes from volunteering, not from running the organization, right? Because it's certainly been the biggest learning curve for me, is what is filling my heart is what we give to the girls. I mean, being with all of you fills my heart. And what delights me is what's going to change the world. So I think that's really a big question, is, you know, what delights you as women? We really need to look for that place where we get lit up. And what really is that? You know, is it running a foundation, or is it being in connection with what we're contributing? Does that make sense?
Good answer. Mic drop. Great question,
Thank you.
Alice. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. And trust me when I say I have to argue with myself all the time. So for those of you guys that, like, one day you're starting a business and the next day you're wondering if you should have started the business, and the day after that you're thinking you should go start a nonprofit instead, like, that doesn't go away just because you make $1 billion. So I just want to invite all of us to really listen to Vivian's words when Vivian said, decide on something that you're willing to make your full-time thing and go all in on it. You know, because the fulfillment and the joy in who I've become actually growing Women Rocking Business to the point where it stands out in the marketplace. Women Rocking Business, it's not just a little business anymore. It's standing out. It's making a difference. And it's doing something on the planet that's good and bigger than just our clients. I go to sleep almost every night knowing that this could be it. I could be done with this lifetime, and I've done what I came here to do. And so I want to put a stake in the ground for every single one of you, that if you want that feeling for yourself, you get to have it. You go get it. You go claim it. It's not always going to be easy. It's not always going to feel natural, but going all in on something, it's a freaking incredible choice, and it will give back to you in ways you can't even imagine. Yeah. And you can do it one day at a time, just one day at a time. You know, most of my clients say, I'm going to commit to this business for a year. That's how they do it the first year. I'm going to commit one day at a time for 1 year and see where I can get in 1 year. So it's exciting. You guys have an incredible opportunity right now, especially because everybody's online. Everybody's online right now. So take advantage of this moment, one day at a time. Go out there, bring your gift, do the videos, bring people together, connect with your potential clients. And it's just been an absolute joy. Let's take a few takeaways. Who has a takeaway that you are walking away with? Oh, Arlie, do you have a quick one?
Unmute myself.
There you go.
Oh, sorry. There we go. Hi, I put it in the chat, Vivian. I put it in the chat, which was how, you know, any guidelines that you all have for choosing who to partner with. I was on a Market Your Movement session yesterday that Claire arranged. And I thought, oh my God, I have so many niches. When I look at what niche to market, you know, there's spirituality, there's the women, there's sexual trafficking, there's Black Lives Matter. Like, oh my God.
I have the same thing happen to me.
It's
you know,
kind of like two questions.
In the last year, we've partnered with Plastic Bank and raised $15,000 to pull plastic out of the ocean. We've partnered with Color of Change and raised $3,000 or $4,000 to help bring racial equity into the workplace. And we've partnered with Just Like My Child. And that is who I am. You know, I want to put an end to racism, and I want to pull plastic out of the oceans because I'm a surfer, and I want to help the girls, you know? And so it's like, as my business grows, I can actually do all of it. I just can't do all of it at once.
Right,
So,
right. And then,
yeah. And you know, the thing
and
about,
Vivian said, check on the impact of the organization is making and what I would like my legacy to be. She responded in the chat because,
That's
you know, like what are the
exactly
ways
right.
to vet an organization that you're going to partner with, you know, like any guidelines on vetting?
Yeah, Vivian.
So this is one of my favorite questions, and I actually, when you download the book, a lot of these questions are covered in here. And the question I get asked so often when people ask me this question, Arlie, is how much of my dollar goes to the girls, or how much of my, you know, money goes directly to the girls? And I think this is valid. It's a valid question, but knowing what I know now, I could send 100% of that money to the girls. But what does that mean? What is the impact of it? You know, there's a difference between giving a girl $1 to get a meal and giving a girl $1 to transform the way that she thinks about herself and the power that she has to protect herself, earn money, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what I'm saying when I say, look at impact. You know, what is it that you would like to accomplish? What are the long-term outcomes of the organization? You know, for us now, we have scientific evidence that was recently published in an academic journal about the impact of the program on tens of thousands of girls and communities. We could have taken all of that money and said, oh, we're feeding girls, which is great. I mean, that's valid, but over 10 years, what's the outcome? What is the impact? And so that's just a distinction I'd like to put out there in terms of impact of an organization. You know, same thing with Pachamama, you know, I mean, they're transforming the way that people perceive the value of the environment, et cetera, and putting that, and that's transformational. I'm sorry, I went off on a bit of a soapbox.
No, it's really, it's actually,
great.
I think it's really important for everybody to hear all of that.
Yeah.
And that's why I really like using our communities. If you want to find an organization that stands for a certain transformation, you know, put it out there on Facebook, put it out there in your communities. You know, does anybody know of an organization that does such and such that you can connect me to? See if you can get on the phone with somebody, see if you can be in that conversation, because it's much different raising money for an organization where you've never actually gotten to be face to face or voice to voice with a human being. And it's likely it might not be quite as effective. In terms of just getting a chance to really have that connection with somebody who works for that organization as well. And for you, Arlie, you're a multi-dimensional, multifaceted woman. I would choose one at a time and ask yourself which partnership is, you know, oftentimes these things happen kind of magically. You know, Vivian and I got connected quite magically. It was like the stars aligned. And, you know, I know that for every single one of you, you've had that moment where it's like you're asking for something and then the universe introduces you to somebody or something happens that, you know, opens a door for that kind of a connection. And, you know, the opportunity is for you to put it out there, to be in those connections with other people that can connect you with the right person. And let me rein it in here. I did an event in San Diego on the ocean. We were literally looking out at the marina. It made sense to raise money to pull plastic out of the oceans. See what I mean? It wove into the storyline. So you can also choose an organization based on the theme of the event.
Great.
Awesome.
Thank you both very much.
Kiss for Arlie.
That was great.
All right, you guys, we're going to take just a few one-sentence shares. What are you taking away from this training? Ingrid, what about you?
I think the takeaway is that even though we're all bogged down in the doing of setting everything up, it's actually the bigger picture that will drive us forward, and we should actually keep our eyes upwards more often than we stay stuck in the detail of everything we have to do every day, because that's what actually drives you. It's not driving, the marketing doesn't drive you. What drives you is actually what you're aiming for.
I love it. Let's give twinkle to Ingrid, twinkle fingers to Ingrid. If that resonated, kiss for you. Mwah. What about you, Julie?
Unmute there. It's really what you said about people trusting people who have open hearts. You know, when they see that you're coming from a place that your number one focus is of service and contribution, and when they have open hearts, they're more willing to invest in themselves as well. Love that.
Kiss for Julie. Mwah. Absolutely. Abso-freaking-lutely. And for those of you who are curious about Women Rocking Business programs, please email support@sagelavine.com. That's support@sagelavine, SAGELAVINE.com. Sage Lavine with an A. You can email us and we can let you know what we have going on right now. And for those of you that would like to partner or get more involved with Just Like My Child, you guys definitely reach out. What's the best email, Vivian, for folks to get in touch with you guys?
I'll just put it in the chat. It's info@justlikeMyChild. We actually look at it. So
Vivian's got an amazing team. And as you guys can see, they are an amazing partner and an amazing organization to partner with. For those of you, and I know you all do, care about girls and may see an opportunity to partner with Just Like My Child in the future. Vivian and I are looking at a Uganda trip in 2021 for women leaders. And it's a life transformational experience. So please stay tuned. We also are going to be sending out the recording of this training, and keep an eye on your email inbox, because Vivian and I will let you know when we can get our Uganda trip together as the world opens back up. And let's just keep picturing us all there, celebrating being a woman leader on the planet together. Vivian, thank you so much. What an awesome honor.
I just want to thank each and every one of you for your contribution, for your gift, for opening your hearts, and for your questions today. This is always really informative to me. And don't kid yourself, for those of you who are looking to approach other organizations, how much power you give them when you show up and say, I want to help, I want to serve. So have at it. Everybody needs a little boost of confidence right now.
It does not matter how big your business is. When you would like to bring in an organization and just help them out and let people know what they're up to, it's a huge gift to everybody.
Yeah.
So congratulations for being on your path. Keep resourcing yourselves. I don't know about you, but I have needed more saltwater baths, more girlfriend time with friends, more hugs with my kitties, because it's a really critical time on the planet. There's a lot of energy moving. So please, for the love of your clients, take care of yourselves, keep resourcing yourselves, treat yourself like the goddess that you are, and keep making that commitment to show up fully and make a difference in the lives of your clients. Go ahead and unmute yourselves and let's give a big wahoo. And Vivian and I will see you on the other side. We love you guys.
Yay. Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everyone. You got this. Your clients are waiting.